wakey, eggs and vegan bakey in my house, and I know Wheels as well.
Yes,
Argentina
Andy.
and Saudi Arabia kicked off at 5 a.m. Eastern. It was a shocker. A 2-1 win for the underdogs. This was such a shock, such an upset, gentlemen, that the King of Saudi Arabia has declared tomorrow a national holiday. So let's begin with a little fill in the blank, shall we? Ollie, this is the biggest World Cup upset since?
I think it's the biggest World Cup upset in 20 years. I think you have to go back to 2002, where there were a couple, South Korea beating Italy, obviously being one in the knockout stage, and then Senegal against France, obviously, as well. So to open up the tournament was a big shock. I think you have to go back that far. Saudi Arabia, I know, have been at World Cups, but this is a team, that is comprised completely of players from their own domestic league, which is obviously not one of the top leagues in the world. So to see them take on Argentina, a lot of people's favorites, a lot of people's pick to win the tournament, Lionel Messi and company, and win this game was an enormous shock. And I think as well, credit to the way they did it, because through the opening couple of days, we had seen some really conservative performances, some negativity from the underdogs, to be honest with you, when you look at the way Qatar played, the way Iran played, sitting very, very deep, trying to absorb pressure and get something going the other way. Saudi Arabia did not do that. They were in Argentina's face. Their defensive line was incredibly high in the first half, to the point where it almost cost them a couple of times with tight offside decisions. But that's what risk is, right? Sometimes you have to take that level of risk to get something the other way. And they did, with 2 fantastic goals. And I hope that is an example and now to other teams in a similar situation, a similar position as the underdogs. That, if you're willing to take risk, it can go the other way, like Australia, like we just saw. But you can be rewarded, and you can cause some real upsets here.
Jordo?
This is the biggest upset since 1990, when Cameroon beat Argentina. I picked on you guys yesterday. I wasn't alive, but I just watched the documentary of Cameroon and basically how their team used to work in the day and train in the night, and they were not professional in the slightest way. But they ended up sticking together and winning 1-0 against Argentina. Now, Argentinian fans, do not be alarmed. They ended up going to the finals in that tournament anyways, but they just had a very slow start. I must commend Saudi Arabia for something that I always say, and it's taking care of the moments. Now, you could talk about luck maybe the first half with offsides and basically how Argentina looked like in the beginning of the game. It could be a slaughterhouse. It could be 4-0 at half. So, but it was 1-0. They come out the second half just with belief, and momentum shifted. So they scored that first goal and said, you know what, let me have a moment of brilliance for the second goal. If you ever want to see a guy never looking to pass, look at the second goal, bangs it, 2-1. Then after that, you're looking at a team that really believes and really wants to put in a shift to win. Biggest upset, biggest praise goes out to Saudi Arabia. For me as well, there's a moment that stood out in the 57th minute. Messi's about to go and score. And Tambakti goes and tackles him and gets up and celebrates like it's a goal. Like when you have that in your squad and everyone's ready to just do the dirty work to win, good things can happen.
I agree with all. It's the biggest upset since 2002. It was Senegal over France, a team with Henry, Vieira. I remember vividly watching that game. Papa Bouba Diop with the goal in that game, a 1-0 victory. But the way that this match played out had a much different feel because Saudi Arabia got played off the pitch in the first half. Argentina, goals called back, offside, one very dubious offside. And we'll discuss technology a little bit later on in this show. But a couple lessons are taught here. One for Argentina or any of the big dogs in this tournament, you have to finish the game. You need to go on and get that second goal, put things out of reach. The second thing that we've learned is when there's lots of support for certain countries in stadiums in Qatar, just because of the nature of it, some of the stadiums not full, when you have a boisterous environment that was created by the Saudi Arabian fans, it feels like a home match for Saudi Arabia, and they thrived off that. That energy was something else. Like the shift that the Saudi Arabian players put in, I do not think it's sustainable. I think it's a one-off. They kind of spat it out all in this one game, and they're going to be absolutely done for in the upcoming games. But that high press, they were relentless. They made life difficult in Argentina. And finally, to Scaloni, the Argentine manager, how you don't start Lisandro Martinez when clearly Christian Romero is not 100% fit. He was a weak link across that back line. Both goals, I think you can pinpoint him as being a big weak link in both. First 10 minutes of the second half, this is a team that went unbeaten in 36 games. You got to see that out. It was amateur stuff from Argentina, alarming for the Argentines, and Cristian Romero cannot be preferred over Lisandro Martinez going forward.
So needless to say, it's a big shock, but it's also another big shock for a reason you just mentioned, Wheels. Yes, this is a strong team. Yes, this is a team that's been picked by a lot of people to win the World Cup, but for good reason. You look at the streak that just ended. They were one draw win away from tying Italy, who actually holds the record with 37 going unbeaten. That was the streak that was from 2018 to 2021 for the Italians. That ended at the hands of Spain.
Congrats,
Argentina.
Andy. Italy atop the list. You're thrilled.
Fair play to Algeria, by the way.
So Argentina, they are on 36, and then Algeria at 35. So Argentina ends today. Algeria ended in January of this year. I think it's also pretty impressive that you also had 3 teams from 3 different, regions, right? So you had Europe, South America, and Africa, who were all on these incredible runs. Italy ending just last year, the other 2 ending this year. All good things must come to an end. But for Italy, they still have that record. Take that, Ollie. Let's find out. Kristian Jack felt.
Celebrate on the streets of Woodbridge tonight.
About this one.
If Wales versus the United States on Monday was the spark that ignited the World Cup, what we have just witnessed here at Lusail Stadium on Tuesday between Saudi Arabia and Argentina is an electrifying firework display that's blown open the World Cup on day 3. Who knows what will happen now in Group C after an amazing victory by Saudi Arabia by 2-1 over Argentina. There's genuine shock around the stadium. Argentine fans don't know what to do with themselves. Legends like Maxi Rodriguez, Javier Zanetti here in the media center. Genuinely, I've never seen faces like that after a game like this. Now, many people thought there could be shocks heading into this World Cup. After all, big teams with heavily favored chances to win the World Cup, big teams with European-based players. Many of them have just got together over the last week. So there's always an opportunity for some teams, some minor teams, to shock a little bit of a big club here, a big country here at the World Cup. Very few people, though, thought that would be Argentina. Argentina arrived here in Qatar on a 36-game unbeaten run. That's right, over 1,200 days since they last lost a match back in the 2019 Copa America against Brazil. They played the 51st ranked Saudi Arabians, and many people thought they would score 3 or 4 goals against them. They did in the first half, but 3 of those goals were offside. In the end, Messi's penalty felt like it was going to be in control for Argentina. And this is why this is one of the gigantic shocks in World Cup history. Shocks come in different ways. Sometimes you get an early goal in a game that can marinate and you can start to believe the unthinkable that it could actually happen. Yet this one didn't look like it was going to happen at all until 2 goals in 5 minutes electrified the crowd. The Saudi Arabians played their part and turned this game on its head. That's when the shock happened, and that's when an earthquake of a result really took place here at Lusail Stadium. Argentina can still win this World Cup. Of course, they're not out. Spain did that in 2010. They fully expected before today to be here in this stadium in 26 days playing a World Cup final. Now they have it all to do. Only 11% of teams who've lost that first game in a World Cup progress from the group stages. What a chance now, Saudi Arabia. What work Messi and Argentina have to do. What a shock. One of the greatest in World Cup history, and a pleasure to witness.
11%. So you're saying there's a chance based on some of the past examples you just gave.
So you're saying there's a chance.
But the bottom line is this is a pretty big upset. And you just mentioned some things, Wheels, about how the manager also just deployed his players. So when you look at that more than anything as well, does it change your opinion of Argentina as contender to win the World Cup?
I still think they can go on and win this group. KJ kind of mentioned it right there. What we've seen thus far in this tournament. So the South American champions have lost a game. The Asian champions lost their first game as well. And so did the African champions, and the CONCACAF champions. They drew their first game. So we're seeing a bunch of wild stuff where you can kind of throw the form book out the window in this group by virtue of the draw between Mexico and Poland. The door is wide open for Argentina to beat, in my opinion, 2 average sides to go forward and go through in this group. Like I said, Scaloni needs to get the center back situation sorted like yesterday. I think they need more invention, more creativity in central midfield as well. If they can rediscover these things, then I think they'll be okay. I look at today being a complete anomaly. I don't think Saudi Arabia will pick up another point in this tournament. Although the group now plays to their advantage, they can play for a draw in their next game against Poland and be in a really good position. But I still think, despite the loss today, this is Argentina's group to lose.
Ollie?
Couple of things worry me about Argentina. I mentioned them a little bit before the tournament, and it's the reason I favored Brazil over them. Defensively, yes, their record has been very good, but some of the individuals, Wheels touched on it there, not totally convinced by. I think they're going to be tested by better competition at this tournament and could be found out a little bit. And the second thing for me, and it was really apparent in this game once they'd fallen behind, they lack like proper one-on-one wide players who can make something happen, take a man on and beat him. Right, there's a lot of kind of technical players who can play between the lines, are very creative, obviously led by Messi, and a lot of kind of Messi imitators as well, like him, you know, that are available to this squads. But when you watch a team like France fall behind, Mbappe, Dembele, there's so much speed, there's so much one-on-one ability to make something happen when the spaces start to get tight. You need to work in the wide areas more. I don't see a single player like that in Argentina's squad. I think there's a lot of guys who like the ball in the middle of the field. So that is a concern for me, again, especially when you compare it to Brazil, Rafinha, Vinicius, so much talent there. I just don't really see it with the Argentinians.
I'm just not sure any other team will come out and play Argentina the way that Saudi Arabia did. You have to give them a lot of credit. It was like crazy football. I can't believe the work rate. I'd love to see the numbers, how much running they actually did, Andy. It was wild.